All right, everyone, and join us for another episode of the Surgical Bay. I am your host with the most, your Don John DeMarco, your Goku or Go Home, joined as always with Chris York. Thanks for being here, Chris.
Always a pleasure, and I'm excited to be back in the surgical bay, cutting and slicing a whole new patient. This time we have Zeke on the table. His deck list or his pool, it's got problems.
Yeah,
We're going to analyze those problems together as a team. We're going to try to find him a better build, and then we're going to use our two different builds. We're going to smash into each other as our format dictates and see who rebuilt him correctly.
right? That's the only way. One game is all you need to know who did it right. That's all you need. And that's all you
Well,
get.
I think if we had like some sort of like special technology, if you could make infinite Johns and infinite Chris's and play infinite games using the same pools, that would be more decisive in terms of stats. But for the format of the show and for the patience of our viewers, go with one match and one match only, and then we see what these different builds look like, how they cash out. But this week, spoiler alert, looks like we might have a very similar recommendation for our patient moving ahead.
That's very true. I think we may have gotten there ourselves, although, well, we're going to see what we got and what we were able to build. I forgot to go live for you, Chris, so you could see my screen, but it should be up now if you want to
Yep,
take a
I
look
see
at
it.
what we're doing. So this
Yep.
is Zeke's pool, and Zeke has traveled around, right? Zeke has gone to some planes. He's gone to Strixhaven. He's got his mom packs, of course, and he also has some SNC mixed in here. Maybe more. I think he was mostly going Strixhaven early, though. I think that was his plan.
Yeah, notably, right? It's important to note that Zeke's top eight appearance, his sole top eight appearance, I believe, was in Strixhaven. He's got a lot of fondness for the set. I feel like maybe nostalgia is pulling him here more than strategy.
I like it because I mean, that was also my first league, and I was originally thinking I was going to go all Strixhaven as well. So I get it, Zeke. I do get it. But I think if you can't go Strixhaven for the full 6 weeks, the fact that it went away in week two makes it tougher. Makes it real tougher to not get that learn lessons sideboard. 4 lessons here. He does have the sciences, which is that's the good one. That's the one you really want. And then everything else is just kind of okay. Pest summoning, expanded anatomy, reduced to memory. Let's take a look at some of the rares here before we start looking at our builds. And he has some spice. He's got a lot of spice, actually. You
He
know,
does, and as you noticed, and I noticed, they seem to fall mostly in the Orzhov colors, right? So there, of course, there's Urabrask, of course, there's Smithies and a few other notables, but nothing that's so strong that's going to pull us outside of the black-white silver quill archetype. If we're using the Strixhaven nomenclature for that color pairing, we're in silver quill territory.
yeah.
Crux of Fate, importantly, big board sweeper. We even have a dragon to protect with it if we want.
Isn't that fun?
Right? Show us that dragon. There we go. So we have our Broodlord. So if that's in play and we want to wipe the board for everything but the Broodlord, we can do that. In fact, the Broodlord can search up our Crux of
Oh my
Fate.
gosh, what a combo.
I know. So that's charming on its own. And we also have some sort of more meat and potatoes. Well, of course, we have
We
Shieldred,
got Shieldred, yeah.
speaks for itself. We have some more meat and potatoes kind of white rares as well to sort of fill out the deck.
Yeah, I mean, and Boonbringer Valkyrie is huge. Like that card is that's a busted rare, right? Boonbringer Valkyrie is a I want to play white because this card will win me games. More
It'll
so,
save you if you're behind, right? By giving a random creature flying and lifelink and kind of boost you until you can win the next turn with Valkyrie proper. So it keeps you alive if you're behind. It brings you, I would say, pretty close to parity, from a board that's behind, and it could even win you the game just by playing it, depending on what's already out there.
and he has a couple companions here. He's got the Yorion. He's got Lutri. I attempted to build these decks, and I wasn't super happy with them. But you play white black. Yorion fits real nice in that white black deck. Just slide it in. You got flicker targets. I mean,
Yeah, I
Dragon
think I think
alone.
Yorion, I think Yorion definitely belongs in the deck, but I'm not sure that it belongs as a companion. I think that's came to the same conclusion that there's just not enough reason to go 80 cards with this deck. He just doesn't have it in the other colors. I don't think. justification for bulking up the deck 20 extra cards.
The one thing I will say to Zeke, and if you're listening, Zeke, is that I do love your green ramp and your green fixing with Cultivate, Invasion of Zendikar. You've got the double green learn spell, Field Trip, which I think is a lot of fun. Blighted Burgeoning. But I don't know what you're doing with all that mana. Like, you can ramp and you can go big, but other than casting this, 8/8 trample hexproof, which is that's a big card. That's a big boy. I just don't know what you're doing. Like, the ramp is nice, and I like the green, and maybe there's some kind of 80 card Yorion 3 to 5 color deck hidden somewhere. But it's also going to be a very slow, very turn 3 find my lands, turn 4 find more lands, and I think you might just be dead by the time that kind of comes together.
John, can you sort by color for a second? We'll just see numerically. I think it's the green that has the most slots, but sadly, there's just not a lot of power, as you pointed out, in that color. There's maybe a couple of pieces of interaction, but not enough to really drag you into it, I think, strongly.
And when it comes
Cosmic Hunger.
Yeah, you got the Cosmic Hunger, the fight spell, and you've got the Mage Duel.
Mage Duel.
Yeah, another nice fight spell. And kind of similar to Steve's pool last week, another light on removal pool. I love the black, and I even put black in my deck, but no Deadly Derisions, no Vanquish the weeks. Not a lot of removal, really, in any color. Red kind of has the most, I think, with 3, with Shock, and then Volcanic Spite and Shatter the Source.
That seems to be the verdict on the set of Mom, is that it's light on removal, and that the bomb, it's bomb heavy, removal light. Seems to be the verdict on the format, the early verdict.
Well, let's take a look.
So that seems to fit
at your pool, Chris, and
sure.
We're going to see how the pools differ, what's alike, and then we're going to play it out and see who reigns victorious this week. Now, this is your Silver Quill deck, Chris.
Yes, it is.
And why don't you tell me about it?
Okay, so sure. I'll try to justify the choices that I've made. So I decided to do a light splash of blue, and you'll notice in the final deck there's 2 islands that can be brought out either with environmental sciences or just accidentally as we move through. And the reason for that is that blue seems to be the color that is sort of easiest to splash with my Shattered Seraph there at the top end. Get blue for free there. Blue helps us play Yorion in case we happen to need another pip in that direction. And also, I've got 2 Heliod's there that need flipping. And sometimes when you flip a Heliod, you don't want to pay life for it, in which case it's nice to have those islands on board, because we want to be able to play all of our spells at instant speed if we can. It's been proved that Heliod is just a great card, and we want to be able to have that access to that without paying a lot of life. Also, the Maestro Initiate is another card that has a blue activation on it. So it's nice to have that sort of live as well. It's not just a 3/1 body in the early game. We can actually flash it back later for some value, and Flywheel Racer is in the deck for that reason. It gives us another early creature and also allows us to splash for blue. Now, in the early game, we have some weird spells, some spells that I'm not really super comfortable with as early game additions, like Gift of Completion is there just to give us early bodies. That gives us some incidental scry, but really what it gives us is a turn 3/3 that can attack. Interestingly, it also has some nice synergy with Heliod, in that if it somehow gets binned, if we have to discard it, if for whatever reason it gets removed from the battlefield, Heliod can recur that from the graveyard. So we can get another creature on the go. It's not going to happen very often. If it does happen, it's nice to have that synergy with Heliod. So we have 2 Gifted Completions, we have 2 Heliods. In a 60-card deck, the odds of that combo coming up are not awful. They're still low, but they're not awful.
Yeah.
Invasion of New Capenna and Fracture are some removal. Killian speaks for itself. It's just a way to, cheapen your own spells, gain life, keep you in the game until you get these big back-breaking bombs in play, like the Boonbringer Valkyrie, like the Hoarding Broodlord, the big flyers that are going to finish the game out. With the cheap interaction, like Bladed Battle Fan, to sort of get your small creatures through and protect them from removal, and your Nezumi Informant to kind of keep your opponent on their back foot and playing all their spells out into your board wipe, into your Crux of Fate. I think that this is going to be a really fun deck to play. It's going to have a lot of different things going on, different stages of the game. You're going to be able to shift gears from like putting some early pressure on and some disruption. You're going to be able to shift gears into a late game, a sort of bomb heavy deck. So that's my build. I don't know if you have any questions, John, that you want to talk about, or maybe just go through yours and see how they differ.
I have one question. Now you're calling fracture removal. You know that does not hit
Yeah.
creatures.
Okay, so there's a reason that I call this.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you know which set was let's say, chosen disproportionately in the early league, in the early week?
In week 1, that would
It was
be
War of the Spark.
War of the Spark. Yeah,
What does War of the Spark have in it?
it's got planeswalkers.
You got a Planeswalker heavy meta. And this deals with them so nicely. And it's just a disenchant as well. It's in our colors. It feels like a very nice solution to a lot of game warping. Um, a lot of game warping cards can be dealt with this 1 or 2 fractures. So I think it's obviously it's conditional removal, conditional on a certain kind of threat being on the board, but it's nice insurance. Maybe it's better described as an insurance policy. That our main plan will work.
And I feel like worst case scenario, you're picking off the incubator tokens with it. You know, those are artifacts. So, in worst case scenario, there's going to be artifact creatures running around to take out. You know, so yeah,
Exactly.
I don't hate it. I didn't include it in my build, which we can take a look at now.
Well, you know what I'm going to be taking out your Heliod's with?
Hey, that's okay. I got 2 of them. So a very similar build to you, right? I don't have. Let's see what's different. Let's figure that out. So I don't have the fractures. I don't have the flywheel racer. I didn't do the blue splash. I just planned on taking life from the Heliod's. I didn't do the bladed battle fans. And I didn't do some of the 5 drops. I didn't do the Witherboom pledge. I wasn't super happy with the amount of instants and sorceries I had for it. Plus, I thought my 5 drop slot was heavy. It's maybe 1 card less than you, but I thought my 5 slot was getting up there. Didn't play the Initiate because I'm not doing the blue splash. I did have it in at one point, but then I took it out. I'm going for more of a pump spells on the Kithkin Billy Rider is kind of my backup plan to everything else. So I've got the 2 aerial boosts to kind of boost up my double strikers. I've got the beaming defense and the revelation of power. So a bunch of +2/+2. And really that's just there to kind of get these guys in early and often. Deal a bunch of damage. Maybe get a charge going with 1 or 2 of them down. And then, we're playing the bombs. We're playing Yorion. We want to flicker our gift of completions. We want to flicker our Nezumi informants. We want to flicker Shieldred, the dragon. We got a lot of good flicker targets in here. And it's just a big flyer, you know.
The synergy didn't escape me as well, even though I didn't mention it. Yeah, definitely Yorion flickering the gifts of completion is important. As well, you can kind of reset your Alabaster host intercessors. You can also bring your Valkyrie back in for more counters, more fun. So there's lots of interaction with Yorion there.
I also have unsealed.
Even Shoulder, right? Shoulder gets another sacrifice trigger off of that. So
I had the.
I see that you're all in on the Billy Riders, huh?
I mean, you have them too. You got them too. You're just not backing them up. I'm backing them up.
I'm not backing them up. No, they're there as bread and butter kind of cards, but I'm not backing them up with all the tricks that you have.
Yeah, like I'm not playing the Dueling Coach, the Consuming Aetherborn. I'm playing more pump spells, and I'm playing Unseal the Necropolis to get my stuff back. I want my stuff to live. Did you put in the Ageless Guardian? You did not. I put him in. He's a 1/4 for 2. That just seems like a big butt in this format. A 1/4 for 2. I feel like that's not that this deck is really trying to block, but that thing's gonna block for a while. And
Yeah, I
then,
think that's the difference between you and I. You put in the necropolis.
yep,
I put in the bladed battle fans so my creatures never hit the graveyard.
yep. And
I
that's
plan to win, John. I don't plan to try to
you
come
plan
back
to
from a losing
win.
position.
You
I want
plan
my
to
creatures
win.
never to leave the board. I care about them that much.
Here, let me ask you this question while we're here talking about it. I was thinking about doing this, putting reduced to memory just in the main. How do you feel about that? So it's a lesson, one white white. Exile a non-land permanent, but they make a 3/2. So it's more removal in the main. We only have one learn lesson card in here with study break. So we're not really
I
going
think
to.
that's a possible way to go. I don't think it's a bad thing to do. Since we only have one way to go get it with study break, right?
Yeah, we've only got the one way to get it, and it's more removal. Like I always want removal in my pools, as much removal as I can get. That's kind of my thing. Like I go where the
Don't
removal
hate it.
is. Um,
I don't hate it at all.
yeah, I don't hate it, and yeah, again,
Let me ask you a question though, John.
yes, sir.
You've it's kind of a crushing disappointment to me that you included this card.
You don't like that card?
I found it to be underwhelming.
Okay, so
So
here's
it's a divination, cost more, and you have to lose life.
yeah, not just you. That's the thing,
I
Chris.
know, I know.
Not just you.
There's the 1 in 100 game where you finish off your opponent with the last 2 damage. I get that, but I mean, it's a 4 mana shock at that point, and it's not really defensible in that role either.
Hey, but a four
It's
mana
incidentally
shock
useful sometimes.
that draws two. It's also just card draw, right? Like we don't have a lot of card draw in here. It's really just Callous Blood Mage can draw a card. So I like a little bit of card draw in a deck, and again, since I am kind of on like the aggro beatdown push damage in the air plan, an extra 2 damage, that could be a game, and every now and then it will be. So I like a little card draw, and I like a little extra damage. I also am playing the Campus, the Witherbloom Campus, just
Yeah.
because it says pay 4, tap, scry 1. That was super important in Strixhaven League, like having a Campus. When your opponent didn't have one, like that can end games, and I remember that. Like you want to have at least a Campus in your deck if you've got one, I think.
I left mine out. I left out the campus.
Yeah.
And that might be the difference between our decks is that I figured I'm not using the green for anything really at all. And just the idea that I've got a tap land in there with the sometimes usable ability of Scrying 4, I had hoped that the power of the deck would shine through to the point where I don't need a plan C, which is just like spinning my wheels, pumping mana into a campus. I mean, I think like there are situations where you're going to be 1 mana off playing Furia, or 1 mana off playing your Broodlord, and you're going to be cursing the fact that you have this tap land in your hand.
Yeah.
That was my worry, is that
That's-
the top end is so important. You don't want to draw that tap land late and throw you off of your game-ending plays.
Yeah,
But we'll see who's right in the gameplay segment.
we will, and let's go ahead
Is that a good transition?
and yeah, let's go ahead and figure out which one of our decks will reign supreme in the Surgical Bay.
Are we ready to do this, John?
Hold on, I need to now stop that recording.